Welcome back to RotoMoto. My name is Donnie. This video is brought to you by O'Neal, and stick around until the end of the video to find out how you can win an autographed Dean Wilson jersey. So, we finally have some more details coming out about the SuperMotocross Championship. That name, Dave Prater, the Vice President of Supercross, as well as Kerry Coombs Russell, who is the CEO of MXSports, sat down on a call with Pulp MX and Steve Mathis for a brief joint interview to go over some details for the upcoming combined series. So taking all the information from the initial press releases that we've all seen, as well as this very candid 30-minute conversation with two of the leaders, let's take a look at what we know so far. First, the entire series will be 31 rounds, and it will not interfere with Motocross of Nations. In fact, Infront, who is the promoter of MXON, said this will actually make it easier to schedule, as they had moved the event forward to cater specifically to the US squad so that it would fall closer to their outdoor series rather than right before indoor. The outdoor series will be cut down by a single round, and this feels like a conscious decision by MX Sports, as there was going to be 2 races at Paula this year, and it looked like there were going to be 2 races at Paula next year, and that's something that the series didn't really want to do, doubling up on tracks. So essentially we are only adding 2 rounds, but as Dave Prater of Feld MXSports points out, we are used to racing Monster Cup every year, which has not been on the schedule for the last 3. And before that, we had, the US Open, we had Summercross, we had things of that nature. So in reality, we are simply rebranding one of the outdoor rounds as the SuperMotocross and one of the indoor rounds as that second playoff. And then, of course, the third big finale, LA Coliseum round, will be the only additional round, in addition to making Motocross of Nations a little bit more leeway for them for their scheduling. The second thing is the entire Super Motocross package will be available on a single streaming platform. Obviously, the outdoor series has left a lot to be desired if I'm going to keep it PG. The switch to MAV TV seemed great, but it did not go as planned. Then another switch to Flow Racing was messy, and that hit a lot of fans in the pocket, all the while having 3 motos on Peacock to quote-unquote keep that relationship alive. Both Dave and Kerry spoke about how the only way to make this mega series possible was to line up their media deals, which sweetening the pot by approaching a TV deal as a mega unit with an official playoff type of system like all other major sports have and a lot of fans expect, which apparently that pitch was very, very successful, and that led to their ability to expand the purse, which we will get into a little bit later. It's no secret that Supercross's deal was set to expire at the end of 2022 with Peacock, but Outdoor was 1 year off and actually expired in 2021 with Peacock, thus the move to MAV TV in 2022. But keeping the relationship alive by offering 3 motos to Peacock to help fill their gap seems like that is because the series will shift back to Peacock, joining its new sister series and having all 31 rounds on a single network. Now, I will say the Peacock part is a bit of hearsay and not confirmed. However, Steve doesn't usually speak on this sort of thing unless he has enough information to speak about it. And it's the only real logical landing spot and makes sense given everything that we now know. Obviously, we all have our complaints with Peacock, but if we learn anything this summer, it's to know when to pick our battles, and I'll take the consistency that the bird provided any day over the greener pastures that we experienced this summer. 3. This deal has been in the works since 2020. Daytona 2020 specifically, conveniently just 6 days before the series was canceled outright when they needed each other the most. The relationship has been tumultuous at best over the recent decade, with Supercross all but denying MX Sports' existence, but obviously after COVID hit, both the series were in trouble and needed to work together to make something work. With the Supercross residency in Salt Lake getting pushed back and back and back, Dave Prater gave kudos to the outdoor series for continuing to push their series back and make room for Supercross to get their series done. A lot of people considered this Super Motocross thrown together, myself included, in response to the upstart World Supercross series that's coming in, and I can see why people would still be skeptical, but again, the details here and the timeline laid out checks out, and it's comforting to know that the plan isn't as scrapped together as we initially thought. Number 4, the $10 million purse will be spread out across the entire series, but it will be disproportionately focused on the Super Motocross finale. The way the announcement was made, it wasn't super clear how and where the money would be split, and some interpreted it as being paid out entirely to the final overall, Super Motocross standings / that final race, but that will not be the case. Also, with the cutting of the Monster Energy Cup, that means that potential $1 million prize could now be put into, the total purse, which is really cool. Although it wasn't broken down specifically how the money would be allocated, it was specifically addressed that the entire purse payout would be raising all ships across the entire spectrum, which is obviously a huge deal to privateers. But just like with any other sport, making that postseason more lucrative in itself is the dangling carrot to participate and do well in the first 28 rounds. Fifth, the final round will be at LA Coliseum in 2023 on October 14th, but do not consider that date a representation of when the series will end year in and year out. Obviously, it's not a good idea to get into October, as there's a lot of sports in October. We want to wrap up a little earlier before the baseball playoffs is in full swing, as well as NFL, NCAA, and all of that. Speaking of, the USC Trojans football team play their home games at the LA Coliseum, and they obviously are going to have to schedule the finale around those home games. And it's simply October 14th this year because that is the only weekend that we definitely knew we could book, because the Trojans will be playing in Notre Dame in 2023. The plan will be to have the entire series wrap up on or before September 30th. Although I would love to see the series end in the Coliseum year in and year out, I would not be surprised if things changed yearly, including the venue itself. Next, the playoff will feature new venues and new formats. Dave and Kerry did not divulge too much info here, but Dave did explicitly say that they do not want to just simply replicate either the SX or the MX format. Given the hybrid track design that they've hinted at some unusual venues would make sense. I could definitely see other motor speedways being used in the fall, and that would definitely make sense here. Maybe even seeing something like Atlanta shift to one of those final 3 rounds. And finally, this looks to officially spell the end of Monster Energy Cup. I hinted at this at the beginning of the video, but Dave Prater of Feld Entertainment, when asked about adding 2 rounds and countered with technically we're only adding 1, also gave us the quote, "MX Sports gave up 1 motocross round and we gave up Monster Cup." So obviously this is a shame, as the Monster Cup always proved to be a really neat, almost preseason exhibition that really built up the hype of the next year, seeing all of the riders on their new race teams at a wild track with an unusual format. But I think it's a worthy trade for 2 races that count, and I would love to see them maybe take that Monster Cup layout and make that one of the rounds for the Super Motocross playoff finale. On your way out, don't forget to hit the like button and be sure to subscribe to RotoMoto for more breaking news and analysis like this. The #1 way to get more eyes on the channel is to tell the platform that this video was a good one, and if you value the content I put out, please consider joining me over on Patreon for just about $1 per week. You continue to help me make videos like this for you, and you're also entered to win race shoes and autographed memorabilia like this Dean Wilson jersey going out this month. If you're a fantasy player, if you play Pulp MX Fantasy, I also have a lot of really cool perks for that, so be sure to check those out. And as always, thank you for watching RotoMoto. My name is Donnie. Keep it pinned to the weekend.